in the interview, they were asking him, well, how do you do this? He says, well, it's like a channel. I channel UFO and space people, through the universes.
Mm-hmm.
And he says, it's like a channel. That's what I do. So they were doing, in fact, they would hold weekly channeling systems, summoning UFOs, various spaceships. And this happened. He actually came out there in 1947, right after Roswell. So the whole vortex of the whole UFO phenomenon really took off. And he was the cusp of what we actually have been experiencing the last 40 or 50 years. So that's what was going on. There was a lot of physical, scientific experiments. My uncle did a lot of research actually he built a rejuvenation machine with Howard Hughes money. It was the purpose of it was to rejuvenate your cells to give you a lifespan of 150 years. And so he was involved with a lot of very interesting people. Actually, he was involved with quantum physics and things like that right after people were actually talking about it. And interesting things with. I recently ran into Dr. Cushman, who's a surgeon in Nashville, telling me about his father and my uncle and some of the experience inside the Integratron, which is this dome that's actually still out there, and people are still going out there. This is near Giant Rock, but it's a different fixture. So there were things going on out there, a lot of free energy research, and they were trying to get as much information as they can. I remember my uncle telling me about that driving cars with gasoline was completely unnecessary. That and of course, I was very young when I'm hearing this off and on all the way till I was in my teens. It made no sense, to me with some of the things he would say, but apparently he was on the ball on so many in light years ahead of himself, because he came out in above ground nuclear testing. He had got a message that it was the worst in the world that could happen, not only to our environment and our people, but to parallel universes also. We're causing terrors in the region of our worlds. And so he was way ahead of things. It was a bad time to do that, because he ended up on the U.S. government's most dangerous person list because of some news he was about them. But he felt compelled to keep telling people about this, because he was instructed by these space entities, and particularly a group of a council of 7 lights that would reach him through his channeling. And so, in particular, he actually sent out telegrams. I actually seen the telegrams he sent to the government, Washington D.C., the president, generals for the magazine.
Chad, we're having problems.
Yeah.
We're having problems hearing you. Your line is coming in and out.
Okay.
So I don't know if you're speaking too close to your microphone or what. So if we could just try it again. I don't know what the problem is, but our people are just giving me this information to pass on to you. So can you continue?
Can you hear the speaker?
I'm sorry?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Can you hear me clearly now?
You're still coming in a little distorted.
Let me go here. Go down here, see if I can do this. How about this? Does this sound better or clearer?
Yeah, because...
Am I breaking up?
No, you're not breaking up now.
I can hear you clearly, but it's in a lower volume.
Okay, so why don't you tell us who your uncle is? You've been telling us all these great things, but you haven't described who he is or given us his identification.
Oh, okay, good. Well, let's start from there. My uncle's name was George Van Tassel. He was born in 1910 in Jefferson. In fact, the screenplay takes pretty much a lot of his experiences, and I've kind of shortened them, condensed them into essentially a few years, and taken creative license with them. But essentially, there's a lot of stories about him and what he did and how he did it, and his communication with the space people. So he got his pilot's license when he was 16 years old in Jefferson, Ohio. He actually hitchhiked across the country to California, to Santa Monica during the Depression, and went to work for his uncle as a mechanic, and where he actually ran into a man named Frank Kreitzer, who was told to go out to Giant Rock, of all places, and mine for earth minerals. So that was the relationship that really began that whole odyssey out at Giant Rock. Was in 1930 when this man came in with a transmission that wasn't working, and my uncle fixed it, ended up giving him cash, and sent him on his way, not really expecting to hear anything back from him. But they became very good friends. Mr. Kreitzer, and who was a German immigrant, spoke very little English, and he was also involved with had a shortwave radio. Well, subsequently, what had occurred was in approximately 1941, and before that, Mr. Kreitzer actually carved out the rock and was living out there, out in the middle of nowhere, in this eight-story rock. So that's where the story begins. And subsequently, he was blown up by the San Bernardino County sheriffs, who thought he was a German spy. They threw smoke bombs down there, and one thing led to another, and Frank Kreitzer had dynamite and blasting caps. Anyways, he got eviscerated down inside the. So that was in 42, and then my uncle came out there in 1947. But prior to that, my uncle was working directly for Howard Hughes as a flight engineer. So he actually had friends in the aerospace industry, and Douglas.
All right, stand by, Chad. You and I have to take our news break at the bottom of the hour. We'll be back shortly. Exonation, we apologize for the audio difficulties that we're having with Chad over the commercial break with the news. We'll try and rectify them. And hopefully Craig and his crew of master engineers will be able to solve this problem. If you'd like more information on Giant Rock the Movie, visit www.giantrockthemovie.com. That's www.giantrockthemovie.com. And we'll be back on the other side of the news as the X Zone continues from our broadcast center in Hamilton, Ontario, Canada. Don't go away. Considering calling a psychic to read your situation? Then consider David Champion, a psychic medium for more than 20 years with thousands of readings under his belt. David Champion will make you feel comfortable. He has proven to be honest and accurate. He's a straight shooter. There's no guesswork. What he sees is what you get. While he is a medium, most of the calls focus on relationships, not only love, but work, school, neighbors, and more. Need help with finding a job and preparing for the interview? Are you dealing with people who are obstacles in your path? For more information, go to davidchampion.com, $1.50 per minute paid by credit card with a minimum of 30 minutes. For your reading with David Champion, call 1-877-702-8598. That's 1-877-702-8598. Now you can dial in to listen to the X Zone Radio Show from anywhere in the world with Rob McConnell 24/7, 365 by dialing 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080. If you have a mobile phone or landline, the X Zone Radio Show with Rob McConnell is now at your beck and call at 213-401-0080. That's 213-401-0080, 24/7, 365. Chad Meek is our special guest, Exonation. He is the writer, director, executive producer of Giant Rock, the movie. His website is www.giantrockthemovie.com. So basically, would you say that the entire movie is about your uncle, George Van Tassel?
It's primarily about him. It's an epic thing. We start off with Frank Kreitzer, who was a follower of Dr. Rudolf Steiner and Nicholas Tesla, and a very unique man in his own self. So we do profile him. He actually takes about 30 minutes of the show, and we just show the interaction between him, my uncle. And then consequently, we blend in a newer character, a younger character named Chase, which actually is somewhat of some of my experiences out there too. But it's an epic, and we take it from 1930 to about 1963. It's the first part of a three-part trilogy. The first part literally takes everyone from Howard uses some of his experiences and things like that. It's just a condensed version that culminates at the Giant Rock convention that were actually held out there every year. Every year from like 52, my uncle would put off these gigantic UFO conventions, and it was the who's who of people in the early space contactee movement, which is what they were called. And so we would get, I would, as a child, I would go out there and I'd see nobody. I'd see rattlesnakes and jackrabbits, and all of a sudden I'd see anywhere from 5,000 to 10,000 people out there. So It was really quite an event, and people from all over the world would come there. So it's really centered around Giant Rock, the whole event, and the various information I acquired about the COINTEL group and their persecution of my uncle, and they were well watched. Project Blue Book was out there. It's essentially the who's who of the early 50s and 60s space contact. They're referred to by the new blood as they refer to them as the tin foil hat people that were actually coming out because they had blended a lot of metaphysics and along with their UFO, but they didn't understand what they were doing. I guess their biggest mistake that they made was that they just stated their views at a time that it was not very convenient for the United States government. But anyways, we take it from there, and then my uncle died under very mysterious death. A lot of his research that he did with life extension and things like that were subsequently stolen within hours after he had died mysteriously in a hotel room in Santa Ana in 1978. So there is this. What it is an epic. It's really an epic thing, and it's based on true events. But I've taken tremendous dramatic license. We have some very big name stars that have shown interest in portraying several of the parts. So it's been kind of rewarding to have people read the screenplay and almost instantaneously say, "Listen, I'd like to be involved in this." But it was a pleasure for me just to be involved because I knew these people, and they were some of the most eclectic, interesting people on the face of the planet at that time, and it was really quite interesting. And I hope, I remember meeting Uri Geller, the spoonbender guy. He was out there. It was just there was all these people, and I don't know if you're old enough to remember an entertainer named Engelbert Humperdinck.
Oh, I sure do.
I mean, you would see these people. You kind of walk around a little cafe and out in this dry lake by this, out there, and it was just very, very intriguing because it just didn't seem. You expect to see these people in Hollywood or somewhere else. So anyways, it's kind of a legacy thing for me to bring the information, what I know, and it's amazing that people have contacted me that have had a connection, and even in my working years, I've been all over the world, and people knew my uncle. I ran oil and gas companies and mining companies. I remember I was pitching a group out at Morton Thiokol